Hi everyone, welcome to the Timeform and Sporting Live Saturday racing preview. I'm Ben Linfoot. I'm joined by Matt Brocklebank and Kieran Clark to discuss some top quality action at Ascot and Haydock this weekend. Welcome along, gents. Matt, Clarence House Chase. It's a good head-to-head.
It is. You're probably right there in that you don't need 10, 12 runners to make a good horse race. We've seen it many times, especially in this kind of 2 mile chasing division. We saw it 3 years ago now, wasn't it, when Shishkin memorably came and collared Energumene close home in this very race. And this race has thrown up plenty of drama as well, even in recent seasons. It's nice that it's back at Ascot because we've had a couple of called off due to frost and it's been run at Cheltenham, run elsewhere. Energumene going third time lucky because he was really disappointing in it as well a couple of seasons ago.
The white fences, wasn't it?
The colour of the fences.
That was it. It was that year, wasn't it? And then obviously Jonbon was turned over at a skinny price last year when Elixir de Nuts ended up winning it. So it's not a race without drama. Hopefully we're in for a good race and both of them sort of show up on their best form.
You should say that because, both beaten twice over fences, Jonbon and Energumene, and 3 of those defeats in this race.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kieran. Looking at the Timeform ratings, we've got Energumene off 188, £5 clear of Jonbon. And on his best form, he probably deserves to be clear, but will he turn up in his best form this weekend?
That is the key question. He's 11 now. Now, I had a quick look before we came down at 11 or older. So his master rating's 177 without the adjusted rating of 188. Only Corto Stars run to 175 or above of recent times when he won that 5th
in that age group.
King George, 11 or more, yeah. So he does have a lot to prove as off his layoff, but he was getting £10 from Banbridge when that one exited in the hilly way. And
let's just have a look at that run because that's a key piece of form with Energumene. We can't really trust if he's the Energumene from 2 years ago,
exactly
but
that.
Maybe he's he doesn't need to be. After all, the horse that unseated at the last here at Cork
just won a King George.
Won a King George.
Yeah, so his rating comes from his second champion chase. Now, if you look at both his champion chases, Shishkin, a miss in the first of those, and the second one, Edward Stone flopped and he beat Captain Guinness by 10 lengths. Now, Captain Guinness has also won a champion chase. He won a champion chase when El Fabiolo pulled up.
Yeah, you can pick holes in top class races, can't you? With the benefit of hindsight. I suppose the two important things from the hilly way. Energumene went with zest. He really did show an appetite for jumping fences, which was always his thing. And I'd imagine we'll come to the tactics, but he will probably be forward. The other thing, and it is a negative, is that not only was he getting quite a fair chunk of weight off Banbridge, who was potentially coming to take his measure, he was also getting weight off the mare, wasn't it? Dino Blue, who ended up finishing second. So he's going to have to step up massively. He's not at the absolute peak of his powers, whereas I think we're looking at a peak Jonbon. This is Jonbon's season, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like this is his chance to win the champion chase, to cement his legacy, as it were. Jonbon, he's one of those horses who's, he's kind of grown up in Constitution Hill's shadow for much of it. He was kicked into touch
22 lengths behind him in the Supreme.
In the SkyBet Supreme that year. And yet he's gone on to show himself to be a real stellar 2 mile chaser. And he's a cruiser. He's a Rolls Royce of a 2 mile chaser, isn't he? We know he stays further. He's got that win in top class company over 2.5 miles. But why would you go up in distance when he's so effective?
I think he's a 2.5 miler who stays 2 miles very, very well.
Yeah.
I think he'll win Scoop.
Let's have a look at him because his best run this season, I think, was his second run back, wasn't it, in the Tingle Creek at Sandown.
I think Edward Stone would have been second if he hadn't fallen. He fell 4 out. I think he probably would have been second best.
He's been second a couple of times to him before. He's been third to him a couple of times before, and then obviously the fall at the Tingle Creek. I think you might be right there in that it was the Cheveley Park horse ended up finishing second, didn't it? Colixios was second. There was a good gap, 8 or 9 lengths. What I liked about Jonbon this year, if you go back to last season, he was dead impressive in the Schlur chase. He came out and blew everyone away, and it was a bit like, wow, Jonbon. And then he recoiled slightly in the Tingle Creek. He wasn't quite as good, but they used this year's Schlur.
On ground that was virtually unraceable.
Absolutely, yeah. I think conditions are important this weekend because they're more favourable for Jonbon than Energumene. But they used the Schlur. He was a bit more workmanlike, wasn't he? And they used that as a stepping stone. He was brilliant in the Tingle Creek. That was real peak Jonbon. So hopefully this isn't... I don't think they're going to use this as like a springboard into the champion chase, but I'd like to think that Henderson will have him absolutely 100% for March, and maybe this is kind of the tee-up job. This is the Schlur, as in into the Tingle Creek. So I'm not expecting him to win by 8 lengths, but I think he might win by 2 or 3.
Let's talk tactics because it's fascinating. We'll get the Timeform pace map on screen. You can see Timeform are predicting Energumene to go forward, but we know both of these horses can be aggressive over this trip. How's it going to play out?
I think it'll be exactly what happened at Kempton in the Wayward Lad. I think Energumene will try take them along just as Ballyburn did, but I think Nico will sit and press him, or he'll sit just behind him. I know Edward Stone's led in the past. He won the game Spirit, didn't he, when Boot Hill fell? But he would have won that anyway. But I think they'll hold him up.
I'm not so sure.
Do you think Edward Stone will go forward?
Well, look at it from Alan King and Tom Cannon's point of view. How do you mix things up? How do you beat these two horses?
I thought he'd let them try go at it and maybe go a bit too hard.
Maybe if he's thinking about picking up second prize money. But I think if you're going to go out and try and do something different, I think Edward Stone probably should revert to forceful tactics. Go out and
pretty good at Newbury, wasn't he?
He was. He ended up winning by 20 lengths.
He went off too fast in the champion chase, the next start.
Yeah, I think his chance is to go out there, ruffle Energumene's feathers, and maybe even try and get Jonbon off it as well. But
I do have a slight concern about his jumping. Major concern for Boot Hill's jumping. He's fallen a few times now.
He jumped well at Cheltenham, didn't he, on his reappearance?
He was second, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he has got a fall in him, hasn't he?
He will be held up, Boot Hill. He does really like Ascot, but he's not a great.
And Jonbon's 1 from 1 at Ascot. It was a while ago now. It was in that novice hurdle back in the day.
That's right, yeah.
But he's I think the track will suit him, won't it? A stiff finish.
I think Nico will just press Energumene and kick on with 2 to go.
Well, I think it's obvious to everyone which way you're going, but just underline your selection.
Yeah, Jonbon for me. I mean, at the prices, I can see why people have been tempted into the 5-2 Energumene, and he is shortening all the while. But I don't think he's going to reproduce his best at 11. And like you say, we've got a prime Jonbon.
Yeah, he could reproduce his best. He would probably do that on heavy ground. If he was genuinely testing, it not only deadens Jonbon's chance a little bit, but obviously Energumene, all his best form is on soft ground.
Yeah, we could be talking about good ground today.
Prevailing conditions, it's Jonbon's race to lose, I would say, rather than the other way around.
Really looking forward to the head-to-head in the Clarence House Chase at Ascot. Right, we're going to finish with a look at the SkyBet Peter Marsh Chase at 2:30 over at Haydock. Always a good handicap, and it's got extra lustre this year with Royal Pagaille running off a big handicap mark.
He is a proper Haydock specialist. He's 5 wins and a distant second behind Bristol de Minor Betfair Chase, but he's won 2 of those himself. He's won 2 Peter Marshes. 163 won it off in the past. Now he's off 166 this weekend.
And because of that, he's not top of the Timeform ratings we can see on screen.
Exactly that. Mr. Van Gogh tops the shop. He won one of these regional nationals. London National, was it he won? At Sandown. Sounds about right. Or Esher, something like that. London, yeah. He tops the shop, Mr. Van Gogh. Then you've got likes of Trelawn and Royal Pagaille. Should we start with Mr. Van Gogh?
Can do.
He's real dour stayer.
Top of the shop on Timeform ratings, so
he will go from the front. Yeah, he will. It is a slight drop in trip. He's becoming a real dour stayer at 3.5 miles plus. Not sure if he was meant to run in the Welsh National, but I can see him definitely running in the Grand National Trial here next month. 3 mile 1, it'll be bottomless ground. It just is it far enough for him? It will be an extreme test, but
very slow, isn't he?
He is.
They pitched him into the National Hunt Chase at Cheltenham. He's held in pretty high regard, and he went off favourite for the Scottish National at the end of that season, where pulled up conditions might have been a bit lively for him. So he couldn't have it soft enough, I'd say.
Yeah,
Mr. Van Gogh. He will just keep going up and down, plodding away. He's not got the class of Royal Pagaille. Obviously, he gets the thick end of 2 stone. Interesting with that horse, the top one. He's won it in the past off carrying 11 stone 10, but the conditions of the race this year have changed ever so slightly, so he does have to carry the full 12 stone Royal Pagaille. So he's not only a little bit higher on the ratings, but he's also physically carrying that little bit extra weight as well.
He's a bit older as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously the horse to beat. He's almost a tempting price, isn't he? You kind of think a Grade 1 winner dropping into a handicap. Maybe he should be a bit shorter. Should he be 6-4 short?
Well, I do think recently there's been an angle of these classier horses just because they're better and maybe the ratings are more.
It's all these guys below
that
are rated mid 140s, 150 that are slightly inflated.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
been inflated.
Yeah.
He's a proven Grade 1 horse.
Yeah.
let's have a look at a few video clues then. We've got Trelawn first, here winning at Haydock over 2 mile 5 earlier in the season, Matt. He looks a player.
Yeah, I liked this. It proved that he handles plenty of cut in the ground, which we already know from his novice days. It showed that he'd kind of trained on, as it were, into the open company. It looked a really good race at the time. Now, it has taken a few knocks, hasn't it? I suspect 1 or 2 of those Iroko, connections are on record saying he's being trained for the Grand National. There was 1 or 2 others in behind as well. Definitely Silence was behind. He's been a bit fraction disappointing, beaten again at Windsor on Friday.
Trelawn himself.
Yeah, he was
disappointing at Ascot over 3.
Yeah, I think he maybe just found it happening a bit quickly for him. 3 miles round Ascot on good to soft, goodish. I think there was a bit of debate about the state of the ground there. It was decent ground. He wants a proper test. He's got a touch of class as well, hasn't he? And with Royal Pug up there, he's got quirks. Yeah, you were just showing me earlier about his Taunton run last year where he almost ran out.
He almost ran out of circuit out in the Taunton. He went left at Ascot, but I really loved what he did there. You see there winning at Haydock when he beat Iroko. He looked a proper Haydock horse, a positive ride to make up his mind. I'm surprised they haven't reached for a more severe headgear, blinkers or a visor rather than cheek pieces. But I just think him and Mr. Vango are going to get into a rhythm up front, and maybe even Royal Pug, depending on what tactics.
Well, final video clue is Betfair Chase. Royal Pug's win in November, and he is. We've talked about him being a Haydock specialist, and that really came to the fore this day. Just talk us through it, Kieran.
I still think he'd have won even without Grey Dawning's mistake. He just stays this trip so well at Haydock. It can't be enough of a test for him. It just comes down to, is he going to be able to concede all that weight away? Even Trelawn's nearly getting the best part of a stone, I think. And then you've got the other ones right down the bottom. Now, he is the classiest horse in the race. They're probably running here because where do you go with him? He's not probably good enough to win a Cotswold Chase next weekend. And he's not really a Gold Cup horse. So it's probably going to be here, and then maybe a run in something like a Gold Cup, and then maybe come back to try and win another Betfair Chase. So, yeah, you got to respect his chances. I thought he was a bit short enough in the betting.
Tactics are interesting here too. We'll get the Timeform pace map up, and as you can see on the right-hand side there, Trelawn, Mr. Vango, Bill Baxter expected to go forward, and you'd think Royal Pug would be held up and
you'd think so, but he went forward in the Betfair Chase. I think given that there are already a few confirmed front runners in there, I think they will probably hold him up a little bit.
He's very, very good, isn't he, Charlie Deutsch, on this horse, round Haydock. He'll let it play out to an extent, but then when he gets to the top of that straight, Royal Pug has this habit of just toying with rivals. He did it to Sam Brown a couple of years ago. You sort of thought Sam Brown was going to beat him in this race, and in the end, he won he as prick, really. Vanish Williams carries on in really good form. Yeah, he's the horse to beat. It's not much of a betting race for me.
No
bet. I quite fancy Trelawn at the prices. I think Trelawn's a good bet. 92.
You like Trelawn, don't you? Do you know the closest I came to a bet was Chambard's? Chambard's a huge price. Yeah. He's the outsider of the lot. He's 13 now. He's seemingly had his better days are behind him, but I can't get last year's Beecher out of my head a little bit. He sluiced through the ground that day really bad. I'd say if it rained again on Saturday and it was horrible conditions, he might bring out the best in him, but he's creeping down to a good mark. 142. He won that off 140 at Aintree. He won by a long way by Cocoa Beach, but he's a sort of token outside selection. I could see outrunning his odds. I can't see him winning it.
Underrated second string angle, perhaps.
This is going to be a thorough test, and I don't think it'll suit Imagine. He's more of a 2.5 miler. I don't think a real slog it. 3.25 miles is going to be his bag. I know you mentioned Richmond Lake as well, Scoop. Now, he hasn't really got any form at 3 miles. I don't think he's actually tried it, but I can see Brian Hughes sort of smuggling him into it at the end of the back straight. He might pick up a...
Yeah, I thought he'd be interested on the ground.
Trelawn, for me, I think he's just going to gun him from the front and make up his mind for him, and hopefully he's a thorough stayer that I think he is.
Trelawn for Kieran. Right then, very quickly, just 10 seconds each to end the show. Have you got a best bet elsewhere for Saturday?
I do.
You first, Matt.
250 Ascot, really competitive, 2.5 mile handicap chase, and with one of the Moore horses here. They've got 3, haven't they? Nicky Henderson's got 3. The Moores, Gary and Josh now on the joint licence have got 3 runners, and I'm with Spirit Danu who's back on his last winning mark, 129. It was last winter he bolted up at Sandown off a mark of 129, and he got hit pretty hard by the handicapper, struggled subsequently. He also developed a bit of a reputation for being a soft ground horse because it was horrible. It was heavy ground that day at Sandown, and he went through it okay. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. He has won twice on good to soft ground that Timeform referenced as good to soft. And I saw enough last time out in the first time cheap pieces. He was fourth in a good race.
Okay.
That was the first signs of him coming back to form, and he's dropped back another couple of pounds to 129. So Spirit don't know an each way price.
Could be well treated. Casey?
Yeah, pretty obvious one for me, which would be Oh My Johnny, second race at Haydock. He should have won a banger 2 starts ago. He fell at the last when he was going to win. The form of that is being franked really well. The horse that ended up winning that's bolted up at Doncaster off a mark of 111. The second's come out and bolted up at Warwick, who actually runs in the last at Ascot on Saturday. Oh My Johnny's he came out and won at Utoxeter. He's got an opening mark of 116. I think that's perfectly more than fair. The form of the Philip Hobbs Johnson White yard, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're on fire.
I think they've had 7 of the last 10 prior to yesterday have won. I just think this horse is really well handicapped. It's a competitive little race. Do keep your eye on Coniston George. He wants a test at 2 miles, but when this horse gets a test at 2.5, I think he'll definitely be winning races for Nicky Richards. But yeah, it'll probably be favourite, but I think he's going to win.
Great stuff. Oh My Johnny for Kieran. Thank you, gents. Enjoyed that. Enjoy the Peter Marsh and the Clarence House Chase on Saturday and all the racing everywhere. And we'll see you again soon.